Good morning again. It's the 24th of March still. Probably about 9 a.m. or so. I've had breakfast and showered up and all that. I want to thank you folks that have been tuning in. I've looked at the analytics. There tends to be a punch through, a press through at a little bit after 21 minutes. So I'm getting the message that basically I need to limit things to 21 minutes. I understand that. I'll respect that. I do want to tell you about current events right now and the severe danger we are in my opinion. I want to tell you some history which is not common knowledge and which is not known at this point. Right now, my big concern is about Justice Clarence Thomas. I'm concerned about his health and well-being. The last justice that we lost, Anton Scalia was murdered, folks. That's all there was to it. Apparently, he played with some pretty bad boys, and they called his card up, and they took him out. And I think he complied with it, from what I can tell. Big cover-up on that. And by the way, Chelsea Clinton indicated that she had prior knowledge of this death, this murder. I believe that makes one murder to the accessory to murder before the fact, meaning you're obligated, if you know somebody's about to get murdered, you're obligated to make a report to the police, to do all you can to prevent that murder, or you're guilty in part of that murder yourself. Okay, my big concern is that this current justice that's being proposed, this black female that Barack Obama is so proud of, okay, I slipped. Well, he is in his third term as presidency, and of course, Joseph Biden is the front guy. You know, they always put a pasty white guy out front, a Gentile, a Protestant-looking dude, to carry the water for them. This justice is anti-gun. We're going to lose our rights. That's why they want to take Clarence Thomas out, because he's a stalwart for the Second Amendment. This gentleman understands the necessity for the Second Amendment. He knows that because as a black man, he knows that his race needed guns to protect themselves, that they were being oppressed, they were being attacked, and they needed to be able to arm themselves. There was a time in this nation where his race, his species, whatever you want to call it, his kind weren't allowed to arm themselves and defend themselves at one point, not too long after the Civil War. It's necessary that a man be able to defend his life. The word necessary is only in the Constitution one time, and it's not about the Congress, it's not about the Supreme Court, and it's not about the presidency. The only political body necessary is the militia. It's in the Second Amendment. They have deprived us of our militias. We need to get those back. Militias are tasked with two things explicitly in the Constitution: quelling insurrections, defending our borders. If we had our militias, we could put them on the border in a heartbeat, and this federal government couldn't do jack about it, because it would go to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court would read the Constitution and say, yep, says right here, they defend the borders. So we're not going to get our borders defended until we restore the militia. And I don't mean the National Guard. That's not the militia. That's an outside thing imposed upon us from Washington District of Criminals. What you don't know and what you need to know was that in the year 1952, a lot of things happened. And one of those things was the founding of the United Nations. I believe that's the right year. But the one point I want to get across is that we had a Chief Justice named Vinson, Vinson. Chief Justice Vinson was in his early 50s. He was a healthy man. They murdered him. They killed him, and they got away with it. By removing the Chief Justice of the court, they changed the entire construction of the court, because Brown versus Board of Education, I believe, was coming up. I don't think it was Plessy. I think it was the Brown case. But one of those cases that was coming up before the Supreme Court. And under a Vinson Supreme Court, it was going to be 9-0 that they weren't going to impose. I don't know what to say about this, folks. They weren't going to force people to associate, okay? And basically, you need to realize that the First Amendment does include in it, in my opinion, you can read it for yourself, the right to associate freely, the right to associate. So if you have a right to associate, does that not imply you have a right not to associate? I mean, if you don't want to do business with somebody, if you don't want to talk to somebody, if somebody doesn't want to talk to you, I mean, do we have to force them to be in the same room together? I mean, we know day after day that there's domestic violence, all kinds of stuff where people should be kept separated. We know that there's criminality. We know that victims of the crime need to be kept separate from the perpetrators. We know this stuff. And so a man has got to have a right to decide who he's going to associate with. Excuse me, I shouldn't hold that back, because I'd like to joke when somebody holds a sneeze back like that and chokes one off that you're going to blow your brains out. Anyway, I'm safe and sound, folks. I just got a little tickle in the nose. What I want to tell you is they murdered Supreme Court Vinson. And by getting rid of Vinson, that also created a seat for another one of those Khazarians on the court. Okay? They're on the Supreme Court today, right now, and they're trying to put another one of their agents, to say the least, on the court. What you need to understand is they murdered Vinson, and they waited 2 years, and by the time that case came before the Supreme Court, they used that to form a legal judicial precedent that basically dictated and resulted in us having forced busing. Now, I took part in some of that busing, going way the heck across town, 45 minutes one way. I mean, I went to school in the dark. I went home in the dark. It was miserable, just to satisfy these guys that we were doing the right thing. Yeah, folks, today, when I go to the University of San Diego, the last time I hung out there, I was warned, and I went to all of the major libraries in San Diego when I was doing my research. I could cover them all, in an hour and a half if I had to, the 4 major libraries, because I had it down. I knew the parking. I knew where the references were I wanted to get. I knew where the periodicals were. And my buddies would warn me, it's Greek letter days. Well, what was Greek letter days at SDSU? Greek letter days at SDSU was nothing but a bunch of blacks, African Americans, in sororities, walking around chanting and doing their stuff. And it was impressive. It was kind of scary too. And I just kept walking. That's all I could do. Greek letter days. And these were folks that wanted to separate themselves. These sororities and fraternities and Greek letter days, these black individuals wouldn't let a white person into their sorority. They wouldn't let a white person into their fraternity. They wanted to be strictly African Americans. I don't like that term. I don't like the hyphenated American term. You're either an American or you're not. And as far as being African American, I know people from South Africa and I know people from Egypt, and they ain't exactly Negro. So I think that's a mistaken term. To be forced to call them a long, hyphenated, multisyllabic word is off the charts. Nothing's wrong with the word Negro. Nothing was wrong with the word black. Okay, there's that old word that I won't use. Begins with an N, and it's not numismatic. Yeah. Anyway. We all did things in the past which we regret. We all would like to change it, and believe me, when you get to my age, you're full of regrets, and you wish you could have done some things differently. But when we were children, we sang children's songs and rhymes, and they had those words in there, and we had no idea what we were doing. Heck, we were just kids, playing hide and seek, playing out in the gardens, outside. I mean, we didn't know very much at all at that point. Anyway, what I'm getting at is that they changed the construction of the court, and they forced integration, they forced busing and all of that. Folks, there was nothing wrong with the black community until LBJ came along. They were good. They might have been better than us at the turn of the of the 20th century, at the early 1900s, black families were well behaved. They were working pretty hard. The black family was intact. The dad was at home. He was head of the family. And it took a strong man to raise strong children. We wrecked that when we pulled the men out of the house. We started that with the welfare system, and LBJ, who said that those will be voting Democratic for the next 200 years because he gave them the welfare state. Well, the problem is he made the state the father, and he got rid of the fathers, and the black family's not doing very well today, folks, but the white family's not doing well either because we've done the same things. We've empowered the women in these family courts. We automatically, well, I'm on my soapbox. What I want to get across to you is we're at a critical period. These people are not above murder. I fear for Justice Clarence Thomas. I really do. I fear for us as well. They're trying to seat this liberal judge who's not very nice. Her judicial philosophies, she won't even talk to us. She won't even answer questions. I think she should be denied. I think she should be denied because of that attitude of hers. If you're not going to talk civilly with the senators and answer questions forthright, then you're not trustworthy. You're not an honest person. And believe me, Barack Obama would not be putting a Supreme Court justice on there who wasn't anti-gun. They want to take our guns, folks. Remember what Barack Obama said. They cling to their Bibles and their guns. Folks, we can't give up the guns. Even Vladimir Putin warned us and told us, don't give up your guns. These libtards think that there's no effects, no consequences. They think voting Democratic and having Biden, Obama, whatever in there is okay. It doesn't matter who's in there. Well, it does matter. Look at the price of the gasoline at the pumps. Look at what's going on. Look at what the ATF is doing with their rules and regulations and legislating from what? The bureaucracy they are? That agency needs to be absolutely taken apart. Just like our FBI, just like our CIA, just like all of the other alphabet soup agencies need to be taken apart. Folks, all policies, all policing by the Constitution was reserved to the states, the individual states. We need to return to that. The problem is even a lot of the states aren't enforcing the laws anymore, and it's going to get worse. You're going to need to be able to defend yourselves. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt in my mind that we're going to have to resort to protecting and defending ourselves. Judge Vincent was murdered to change the consistency of the court. The man who was head of the communist cell for the East Coast, who ordered that hit, was Warren. The Warren Commission that covered up the John F. Kennedy crime, the assassination, the Earl Warren Court that did so much injustice to the United States of America. The CIA did the hit and the FBI covered it up. That's how we ought to think about it here at home. It has not been solved. There's no statute of limitations on murder. I think we need to actually solve the crime, folks. Hey, FBI, if you're worth your salt, solve the Kennedy assassination. Bring everything to light. Solve the crime. You can't do it because parts of the FBI were involved in killing more than 30 eyewitnesses. Yeah, you got a team of assassins in the FBI. You've always had one like that. J. Edgar Hoover was not a nice guy. He was appointed for a purpose. He was beholden to the Khazarians. And even J. Edgar Hoover was quoted as saying that the average man, the average citizen, cannot come to grips with the conspiracy that's against us because it's so massive, it's so big. That's what J. Edgar Hoover said. Woodrow Wilson was familiar with it, and he said, you don't dare whisper about this group because they'll whack you, they'll kill you. Yeah, they ran roughshod over Woodrow Wilson. They put him in and then treated him as their lackey. He had several strokes, and it was Colonel Mandel House who was running the show at that point. That's when they put through more of their communist manifesto. Your graduated income tax. Income shouldn't be taxed. A man shouldn't be taxed on the means whereby he supports himself, so he doesn't become a ward of the state. So it doesn't become necessary to give him welfare. I got a lot of ideas how to correct this stuff and straighten it out, so stay tuned. I promise I'll do my best to just do short videos. We do not want to see this nominee to the Supreme Court approved because she refuses to speak civilly to our statesmen. And when she refuses to work and answer senators' questions, then she can't be trusted. That's all there is to it. We need to send this one packing just to let. I hope the Republicans have enough strength this time and enough fortitude, enough guts, enough intestinal fortitude, enough balls to send this one packing. We need to do that. They did it to our people all the time. I remember Bork. Man, Bork was treated horribly. And Bork was probably one of the most qualified men. Sorry, ladies, but he was one of the most qualified men ever for the position. Call your senators and tell them not to approve this nominee. Reject her. Reject her on the basis of etiquette. She's not being civil. I can just imagine the type of rulings we're going to get with her on that court. I don't think we should allow Biden to appoint anybody, folks. Oh, Barack Obama. We shouldn't allow Barack Obama to appoint anybody. I forget. Biden's president? Or is it Barack Obama? You tell me. And remember, these people hate us, folks. That's why they're making us suffer like they are. I mean, why are we tolerating this stuff at the gas pumps? Why are we tolerating the invasion, the fentanyl, the poisoning, the killing of our people? Why are we tolerating this illegal government? And I'm not just talking about Biden being illegal. I'm talking about the whole thing being illegal because it was authorized in 1871 to merely dictate and rule over that little 10 square miles called Washington, D.C., which isn't even part of the United States of America, apparently. Is it? You tell me. They certainly don't act properly to me. I want to go back to a constitutional Congress. No pay for congressmen. Senators come directly from the state governments, subject to instant recall, firing if they don't vote the way the state government wants them to vote. You have no republic, folks, when the state governments aren't represented. And this idea that you're going to have a super congressman elected directly by the people is a big, bad mistake. Let's watch out for the Supreme Court stacking. Sorry to go so long. I got a few other topics. I'm going to do some real shorts, okay? And, give me some feedback. I got a few more views. Number 88. That's a magic number. The 88s. What were the 88s? Where have you heard the number 88? Didn't it have to do something with survival? Defense of women in particular? You white ladies out there got to learn something. 88s were also the size of the guns that the Germans had. This thing in the Ukraine, do not go for it. Stay out of it. It's the Khazarians doing it again. They want us to go to war because you folks are waking up to who they are and what they are, and they're afraid that we're going to hit critical mass awfully soon. And when we do, we're just going to take them out, folks, which is what we have to do. We have to stop abiding by their rules and regulations. We have to go back to constitutional law. You and I are ruled under the Uniform Commercial Code, which also began in 1952. Good day.